Hey, what's up, bookworms and Baron Harkonnen fans? I don't know the best way to start this, but hey, I don't discriminate. Sometimes I like the bad guys. I am Mike, guys. We're here to talk today about Dune, Part One by Denny V. That's what I'm gonna call him. The rest is the same, Denny V, because I do not want to butcher that man's name. Joining me, as always, when we talk about Dune, is the man with the plan, Christopher Ruocchio, author of Sun Eater and Dune fan extraordinaire. We're here to talk some spoilers. Are you ready, my friend?
Oh yeah, born ready.
We talked non-spoilers in case you guys missed that. Check out that video. Just briefly talked about what we liked, what we didn't like in a non-spoiler fashion. But for this, we're going to be talking about everything that happened in this movie, and we're going to be talking about how it compares to the book. So if you haven't read the book, I don't know. It's kind of up to you. If you don't care, I don't think that it'll bother you that much. But there's some things I don't think we're going to talk about. Hey, let's talk about the last 100 pages of this book that they didn't adapt. We're going to talk about some things about what maybe that were left out that they could shift into that second half. So just wanted to get all the warnings out there. Right away, guys, both of us really like this movie. We are coming at this as big time fans of the book. So if it seems like we're nitpicking, we are. We are. I think we both really think this is an amazing movie. It is a cinematic masterpiece. I think everyone needs to go see for sure. But yeah, when you're breaking it down by good and bad stuff like that, you got to talk about something. You got to put those reviewer goggles on. So don't get upset thinking that we don't like this by talking about some of the things that we would have liked to have seen done differently. Disclaimers out of the way. What do you want to talk about?
Well, the first thing that I wanted to talk about, we couldn't talk about in part one of our review, is Dr. Yui. Because he just kind of comes out of nowhere and betrays everybody and is like, oh, my wife was kidnapped, by the Harkonnens and I want to get her back. They don't tell us about this at all. There's a scene in the movie where Paul is talking to one of the house servants who's watering the date palms, and he's explaining, like, oh, it takes, the equivalent of 5 men to keep this tree alive, and there are, however many trees. I think it's 20. And that's a Jessica Yui scene in the book where, Jessica is reflecting on the fact that Yui is with them because his wife was taken by the Harkonnens, and he, like so many of the Atreides lieutenants, like Duncan, like Gurney, have bad blood with the Harkonnens because they are the worst. And without that scene there, without prefiguring Yui's motivations, it really comes out of left field. And it's sort of the archetypal example of things that this movie kind of like rushed. And I just really wanted that to be there. The book obviously will go and tell you that it's coming, 100 pages before it happens.
Oh yeah, guys. Chapter 2, it tells you who the traitor is. It's not a secret, but it's the build up to it. And this, I felt like you're going to do this in a movie fashion. It had no weight, like at all, because you know nothing about the character, nothing.
Yeah, there was nothing at all. Like I liked that it didn't do the book thing and tell us who it is in advance. And of course, if you're doing the movie, you can't have the Princess Irulan, passages anyway. It wouldn't work unless, maybe it's a TV show, you could open the episode with one. But I would have liked to have at least some understanding of of Yui's personal tragedy, so that when he turns, we get it, and it doesn't feel as totally random as it does. And that's one of the things I think, especially if you're not a book reader, you're gonna see that happen and be like, wait, what, why? And that was one of my big problems, I think, with the movie. So I guess how are you feeling?
No, I'm the same way. I think that said that I feel like a lot of these characters weren't developed well. It seems, I mean, look at this large cast, and he's really introducing you to this world. He wanted to put into what this world is like. It's not an easy place to live. I mean, I think that Leah Kine says that numerous times about the desert. But it's just one of those things. He wanted to establish the world, and I felt like he should have put a little bit more on some of these side characters. I mean, Thufir is a couple lines, and he's gone. We don't have the big conflict between him and Jessica. There's lots of things that are kind of left out. Would you say, okay, you got a 2.5 hour movie? Seems like maybe there was an editing thing and these scenes were filmed. We just didn't get them in the final cut. So director's cut, please, Warner Brothers, Legendary. If you're listening to this, I doubt it. They don't. From what I understand, they don't like people talking about Dune on book 2. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah, for sure with Yui, it was like, man, there was no real emotional weight to that scene, like whatsoever. Because all he did was check Paul's vitals a couple times. Was it?
Yeah. Although that was kind of cool too, right? Because he's doing it just like with his hands, right?
Mm.
He's like, oh, like he's doing an EEG basically. I don't know exactly what they were getting at with the Sook medical training, but it felt very, Dune organic. And I kind of liked that.
Something I think that also could have been explained a little better, which again, I know with the exposition, guys, it's tough, but maybe Paul's little film box there could have had explained what a mentat was. I saw my wife about a mentat when we were leaving the theater. She's like, "What's a mentat?" And I was like, "Ah, okay."
They did never use the word. I do think they actually covered a lot of stuff like that pretty well without explaining it. I don't think you need to, like, if you've got to cut stuff for time, cutting that Yui theoretically cannot hurt anybody is a sensible thing to cut, because it's sort of a complication that you just don't have time for. So I wasn't really worried about the suit conditioning not being in there. I don't think we needed to explain the mentat thing, because Thufir with the eyes rolling back and then just doing math quickly, I think got the point across. There were like Piter being a mentat was totally not, there at all, right? But I think that they hinted at a bunch of stuff that was less important like that. There's no mention of Paul maybe being a mentat or being mentat capable. That's sort of sidelined because we've got enough to do without giving him all of the superpowers available, so I don't mind that things like that were sort of sidelined as much, but like the big things like that really bugged me.
You talk about a character that was almost a cameo himself, Piter. Like my wife didn't even know his name.
I don't think they said it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was said at all.
Did you feel cheated that he didn't get his kill in this movie? They gave it to the Baron instead. Did you feel cheated that he's not the one who stabbed Yui?
No, that didn't bother me that much.
Because I think they want the Baron to be even more despicable than he is. I think they wanted to make him more menacing. That's why they did that.
I mostly feel bad for Gasmalchian, because whose first name just went out of my head. David? Yeah. And because everyone keeps talking about how, like he and Denis are really close, and I was expecting him to have more to do. Yeah. But I feel like Brad Dourif had more to do in the Lynch movie than he got in this one. And while we're with the Harkonnens, right, I have basically nothing but good things to say about the Baron, besides we already addressed nobody gets suspensors, right? But besides that, he was awesome. Rabban was in the movie even less than I thought he was going to be.
I'm with you. I think that they should have added the him coming in and putting a killing blow on Duncan would have actually made him a bigger villain.
Yeah, that was, and I know that's changing, the book. And one of the things that we can say about this movie is that it's as faithful as the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings are, and probably more faithful, because it doesn't, change Faramir's character or Aragorn's so dramatically as those movies did. But I would have really liked, and I can't remember if this was Discord or where we were talking about this, but I would have liked it if Rabban had been the one who killed Duncan and hounded them to the testing station, because we set him up as this big villain in the first couple scenes, and he doesn't really do anything. Which, to be fair, Rabban is in 2 chapters in the book, and he also doesn't do anything.
Right.
He just exists, and is just sort of redundant. And actually, I'm a little worried that they realize that he's sort of redundant, and they just picked him over Fade. And I have this horrible feeling that it's going to be Dave Bautista we're fighting at the end of part 2. I don't think they'll do that, but I was really hoping that they would have taken Rabban and set him up as Gurney's opposite number to Fade as anti-Paul, right? And then as you're invading, you're having your big battle at the end of the book, right? You can square both of those guys up and do this sort of Star Wars parallel combat scenes thing, right? Where they're up in space fighting the Emperor, whatever. I'm talking about Star Wars, right? And Han and Leia are on the ground, and you just got things going at once. Because obviously, Gurney's relationship with Rabban, right, vis-a-vis his sister, is not addressed at all either, right? Now, I'm not surprised it wasn't there, but
that and Piter, Jessica was going to be his prize and stuff like that. Yeah, it's little things like that being taken out don't bother me. They take Fade out, that would bother me. Look, you want to take Lord Finring out? Okay, I can deal with that. But I would love to see it, but I'm just saying I could accept that. Taking Fade out would be no, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about a move like that, but there's definitely there's no Fenrings. That's just not going to happen, right? They cut the conservatory completely after the Hunter-Seeker scene, which fair enough, right? I'm not really sure that you need the Fenring plot if you've got a limited amount of time. Like that's a pretty, I think, easy cut to make, because he's a strange character, right? And that's a lot of stuff that's hard to explain.
Well, if you think, say, maybe part two opens up with them with Fade at the arena and all that stuff, and you could put them in there. But I'm looking at it, and it's hard for me to say, guys, for a book I adore. But I think you cut that character out of the story, what changes? I mean, if we're not talking about the sequels, what changes, or the prequels? I think it'll be fine. It can stand on its own without.
Yeah, in Fenring's case, like you don't need him unless you're going to do Paul of Dune, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't think you want them to do.
No.
And because that's a whole thread that Frank dropped, right?
Yeah.
Going into Messiah. I suspect rather than see Fenring at the arena and DD Prime in part 2, the Emperor might make an appearance.
See, I have this fear that the Emperor's you're not going to see the Emperor until he lands on Arrakis. It's what I fear. I don't know.
Well, that's how it is in the book, right? I would like for him. I would like for him to have a little bit more of a presence.
I just want to have a presence of something introduced. I don't want that to be our first introduction to him and Irulan. I think that would just be like, I mean.
No, I figure you got to do the Return of the Jedi thing and bring him in the beginning, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so, or maybe like I don't want to say a montage, but basically it could open with Aaliyah, showing Aaliyah what it was like for her,
Yeah, you have him come to DD Prime at the beginning of part 2 and congratulate the Baron on a job well done and an evil plan perfectly carried out. And also, I see your nephew is murdering slaves. Very cool. And
see, we're getting off task already. We're talking about the movie that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Well, all right, it's relevant, right? Because I feel like they kind of missed the boat there with Raban, and to like make him really a villain in his own right and one worth remembering, because Dave Bautista is perfectly capable of it. And so I would have really liked to have him there.
Let's go down the cast here so we don't leave anybody out. Now, let's get the heavy hitters out of the way first. Now, obviously, Paul here. I don't think I could have been any happier with this. I think that this is just a broad generalization. I love the entire cast, guys. There's not one casting in this I'm against at this point.
Ditto.
I think everyone was great. It was clear that most of the cast read the material, or at least read the stuff about their characters, so they really did embody their characters well. So I don't have any problems with any of that. But I was, from the moment he was cast, I thought that was a really good pick, even though I'd only seen him in a few things. He just had that boyish charm, I guess, that look you would expect of Paul Gordon, whereas the actor is in his 20s, but he looks young. He looks like he could be 15. You could age him up a little bit if you end up making 2 or 3 of these movies. And I think it would work out just fine. But I think he's great. His line delivery is great. There are a few lines he has that I wish that he had said instead of other characters saying them. Most notably, the Litany Against Fear. I wish that he had been the one who said that, not Jessica saying it both times. But these are nitpicks from a book reader. Outside of that, I don't have any problems with anything. There's some things they took out that happened in the book that he didn't do in this that I wish we'd seen. One of my biggest gripes, guys, is the hunter seeker scene in this. It is what, 30 seconds long? I think that is the most I hold my breath in that entire book. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. 1984 did that scene better. It was way more tense. You were really literally holding over this before you even knew what was going on. He was shot out was coming in. He was, it was over. I don't know. I felt like they really could have done the tension on that much, much better. So that's something that's eating away with me. But again, everything looked really awesome. And I think that Timothy, I'll always say his name wrong too, really crushed it. He did great.
Yeah. You think he's the best of the 3 Pauls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, as far as like from the book, absolutely. Because look, I love Kyle MacLachlan. I think he's great. I love Twin Peaks, so I'm a big fan of his. I've loved watching his career. He was too old to play Paul. He was, and then the other guy, I can't think of his name. I thought he was way, way, way too pouty to be Paul. I never took Paul in that book as an entitled little brat. I think in this kind of addresses Paul's, fears and stuff, like worries about his dad and stuff pretty well. And of course, he's probably the best actor out of the 3 of them all. I mean, it's kind of unfair to a guy that got nominated for an Oscar against a TV actor. That's just kind of rude. But I think that he plays the character the best, and not just off of appearance, just how he plays the character.
Well, he feels more age appropriate, like you said, than Kyle did, right? And I think that's a big part because he still has moments where he feels like a kid, right? He wants to go with Duncan,
Yeah.
right? And he gets dressed down by his dad once, right, for putting himself in danger during the whole spice harvester scene, right?
He's
And
like,
so
leave.
yeah, and so like that bit of the character was there in a way I think that the other two versions never really got right. And then he makes a choice right at the end. He decides he's gonna stay on Arrakis, right? Like when Jessica's like, we should go,
We
right?
gotta get you out of here. Yeah.
Go to Caladan, go rogue, and maybe get the Landsrat in on this. And Paul's like, no, I'm sticking to my dad's plan, right? And he actually and this is something that's so absent in a lot of main characters these days, where they actually make decisions themselves. And so it was really nice to see him, not just make that choice, but to make the choice to represent his mother against Jamis, right? In the duel at the end, he just very quietly stands up to do it. And that feels, I was very pleased with, the agency he was starting to develop there at the end of the movie. That was all really good.
What'd you feel about the weirding way? I guess I was expecting something crazy for the weirding way. It just looks like regular fighting. There's a lot of flips.
That was about what I was expecting. I think one of the John Wick people was involved in the fight choreography a little bit. So I wasn't expecting any, like teleporting, like in the sci-fi series. And
Well, now I'll be honest, when he has his vision of the jihad, now that fight scene is fucking awesome. That was kick ass. I thought that was just awesome looking. So yeah, that was choreographed well. I don't know. I guess I thought that Jessica would do something crazy to, have Stilgar be like, oh my God, you're a weirding woman. I don't know. I don't know what I expected. So, I mean, literally she just grabs him in a chokehold.
Yeah. I mean, she's like half Stilgar's size, right? So it's not like it's not impressive. I think we've, gotten used to seeing, weight class not matter in movies.
Sure.
And so to actually, if we like step back for a second, and if that happened in real life, it would be pretty shocking.
Yeah, Javi Bardem is not a small man. Yeah,
no. And he was cool too. Like
he was good. Very, very short, but the spit scene was really good. I thought that was really, really.
I always love him when he's in these things. I'm sorry, I know you have an order you wanted to go in, and I'm all over the place with these characters, but
it's hard not to. Like, I mean, did you have a problem with the friendship kind of busting the balls that Duncan and Paul do? Because I like that. I like that a lot. It made it matter when he sacrificed himself for him. Yeah.
It's one of the, if I can be so presumptuous, it's one of the things in the book that was never.
It's Denis V, and he's pissed off.
Yeah, he heard me. Sorry about that. I thought it was off. But no, one of the things I think the book could have done better, right, is because Duncan dies, right, and we basically have, I think, one scene with him before he does. In the book, right? And we that sacrifice never really feels heavy when you read the first book, and it's not until you read Dune Messiah and it's like, oh, Duncan and Paul were really close. I'm like, really? I'm glad you're telling me now.
Yeah.
And so to lay that groundwork early, I think is really good, right? And I think Jason Momoa did a great job. I was most skeptical of him because I can only ever see, Ronan from Stargate Atlantis.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to plays.
I would say, I don't know if I got the blinders on because I've been a fan of his since fucking North Shore. That was the show he did before Stargate, so I've always liked the guy, but I was like, when I saw him clean shaved, I was like, I can see that. Okay. Somebody say I don't see Duncan, but look, I have no problems believing that this guy that's this badass warrior is kind of big. It's fine. It was until he was standing next to Josh Brolin that I was like, damn, he is a large man, isn't he? So, but yeah, that scene, I do wish we got the spice wine scene, just because I think, everybody always makes fun of him for being so dude bro. I just he would have fit right into that, just like
right.
That
that's the one Duncan scene I knew he could do.
But no, everybody, I saw some reviews saying, oh, Momoa is just here doing his usual broisms. I thought he was pretty good. I mean, he has some good lines, like the one about, dreams now matter what we do when we're awake. I was like, that has more depth than anything that he said in Aquaman, you know? So I don't know. Again, I don't know if I got the blinders on, like I said, because I've been a fan of his since way before Stargate. So
Yeah, no, I think he was great. I would like to see Dune Messiah.
Yes, me too. With maybe a different eye color.
Right.
How about Lady Jessica here? Okay, so I know I did vent a little bit last night. I said I didn't like that she cried like 5 times in this movie because with you, that I think this is Jessica's story. I really have always said I feel like she's almost she's the strongest character in this first book, I think. And I don't know. It was like, okay, when Paul's going to Gum Jabbar, I get that, and I get after the Duke died, but like 3 or 4 times outside of that, I was like, why is she crying so much? I'm not liking this. It's diminishing her strength to me. I don't know. I didn't like that. Did it bother you?
No, I don't think it did. I don't think that crying necessarily, especially in those dire circumstances,
Oh, look, in real life, I get it, but
yeah,
with character, I was like, I just don't see this.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you think that. I thought it was pretty, like I thought it was pretty good, especially the Gom Jabbar scene. Like it really
I didn't even have a problem with her doing the litany there. I didn't even have a problem with that. No.
Yeah, like this crazy witch might kill my son, right?
Sure.
And there's literally nothing I can do about it, right? That was really good, I thought, and I thought she was consistently excellent. I think she's probably the best performance in the movie. Second for second, I think she was great. But I can see how, like, I wish Paul had said the litany too, right, in the Thopter there at the end.
Well, since he says it in the trailer, I think there is a cut where he says it.
Oh yeah, so there we go. Release the Denny cut. We'll start the hashtag now.
Well, like I said, I feel like if she said it there, I get that because we're not doing 1984. We're not hearing their internal monologue. Okay, I get that. In the Ornithopter and the Dust Storm, I feel like he could have been the one who said it. And sorry, yes, it is a big deal to me. It is a very big deal to me that Paul is not the one who says his most famous quote. So there.
Did you are you ready for the inevitable tweet somewhere where someone says the Ornithopter scene reminded them of Luke switching off his targeting computer?
I think about that one. I know that when he was saying, basically he was saying his goodbyes to Kaladin, he's putting his hand in the water, he's looking at the grass, and then he looks at the sunset. I was supposed to be like, oh, we're gonna be like, oh, you ripped this off in Star Wars, even though this book came out 12 years before Star Wars. But hey, it's cool. It's cool. I really think that's why they changed Liette talking to her father. I really think that's why they changed that, because they were afraid of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi connection.
Oh, maybe. Although there was a little Pardot Kynes cameo. That was supposed to be him, wasn't it? Or was it Jameis? I wasn't sure.
What are we talking about?
When Paul was he was in the they were in the sandstorm, right? And he's talking about how a process can't be understood by stopping it, which is a Thufir line.
Oh yeah.
But was that supposed to be part of
reality to experience? I thought it was it Jamis who was like the one who was telling, who was saying like I'll show you these ways and stuff like that.
He had the like scarf on, so I couldn't be 100% sure, but I thought maybe that was a little bit of, because it was right after Kynes got killed. I thought maybe it was kind of a nod to the scene. But I did, speaking of Jameis, and again, I know we're sort of touring your
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Well, try to keep it organic. I liked that Paul was seeing all these alternate futures, right, where they were like friends, right? And there were a couple bits where they were together, with the rest of the Fremen and everything. And so if they'd gotten to the funeral, right, the I was a friend of Jameis thing would have landed a little different, because he was seeing all of these like, oh, if only Jameis hadn't been a jerk, like we would have been friends in another timeline, right? And that was kind of neat, and I wish that they had sort of landed that a little bit harder than they did, because he did have these visions with Jameis. So sorry, back on track.
Lady Jessica.
With Jessica, same question, best of the 3, or I guess 4, because there's the Children of Dune.
Well, here's the thing, like I was like, why is her hair not red? And then I realized, okay, well, the Harkonnens don't have hair in this, so they're not going with that. But again, that's fine. One thing that I liked, and not that she's not a beautiful woman, don't get me wrong here, I like that they had her look plain in this. Does that make sense? I like you're living in this scorching ass desert. Not everyone's going to be dressed to the nines every single day. I like that. That's something where I thought pre why did the Benny Gesserit even shave their head in the David Lynch one? But anyway, pre head shaving, I thought that she was always like super made up, And I don't know. I like that. This isn't a queen, She's a bound concubine. So I don't know. I just like that. I like that it was more realistic, her looking like that. But as far as everything else, awesome. I mean, just the one scene she has with the Reverend Mother is just fantastic. And I mean, they didn't say the word missionary protectiva, but the fact that they actually explained it, I think helped a lot with a lot of the things that could be confusing for people about why are they immediately worshiping Paul when he shows us the other two adaptations. They're just immediately he's the Messiah, no explanation whatsoever why they believe this. So I think them actually addressing that, and it was really good. And her part with it was really good. And I feel like anytime she used the voice in the movie, it was pretty visceral and awesome.
It was really cool. Like I said in part one, the voice, this is the voice that they've done in any of the adaptations, video games.
Yes, I was expecting her wardrobe to be a little more extravagant, but again, they're going for that kind of plain look. I get it. Like the one that had like all the jewels all over the face, that was wild, wasn't it?
That was a really cool outfit. I wish a lot of the outfits had been a little bit more, right. We talked about that a little bit, the Harkonnens in the last video, I think.
Like when the representatives of the Imperium show up at the beginning, that stuff is all amazing looking. All that,
man, the guild guys,
and
the very
so cool.
Catholic
Look like super crazy astronauts or something. I want to see more of the Spacing Guild for sure.
More of that, please. No, that was my favorite new scene too. Was the Herald of the Change, right, showing up, and that was a really good way to explain everything that's going to happen, right, with the fief change, and to do the world building at the same time. I thought that was a really good addition.
And I want one of those Atreides banners. Like I've got the Night's Watch and I've got the House Stark banner just like that. I want one like that, but of that House Atreides banners they had all hanging up. Little things like that. I'm like, God, I hope they sell merch for this movie.
I'm sure they are. There are definitely action figures. So,
I want a coffee mug or something. Come on, guys.
There's got to be stuff out there.
So if this is a bigger hit, I think they'll start pumping out some of that merchandise. How about Leto? We got to talk about my guy Leto here. I said I could talk about it a little more now. The speech that he has with Paul in that graveyard, again, not from the book. And I thought it was absolutely amazing. I love that. I felt like it actually made him even more likable. Like, I mean, because a lot of people be like, with the previous two adaptations are like, well, why should I care about the Duke besides it's his dad? I don't really know. He's here for 5 minutes and then he's gone. This is the first one I feel like, okay, Paul is actually losing, someone very important to him. And I felt like it was established in that one scene. So yeah, that's, as far as like acting goes, that's probably like my favorite part of the movie. I thought that they both played that part beautifully. I believed that they were father and son.
Yeah, I did too. I think he's by far the best of the three Letos. He, like you said, that scene was great. The little bits too, even when he yells at Paul for risking his life, right? That was really good, right? Like that's a really solid dad moment, right? And he also they really cover the I am not trying to be like the Harkonnens, like I want to work with the Fremen, right? And I'm trying to respect people's customs and all of that stuff. Was there. They had my favorite line in all of Dune, which is the I will respect the dignity of any man who respects my dignity, which I think, more of that, please. Earth 2021. And just that sort of general attitude about him is this, intrinsically, good person in this position of authority, because so often in science fiction and in fantasy, whenever someone has a noble title, right, especially Lord, if they're Emperor of the Galaxy, they're a piece of shit, right? And one of the things that's great about Dune is that Leto wasn't, right? Paul maybe, later on you can make that case. I don't think it's really fair to Paul. But Leto was always a decent guy, and he really had the humanity there, and he cared about his people and all of that stuff, and that came through. I think.
Yeah, even though it was a scene not from the book, I like it kept a lot of the Herbertisms in there, like those who seek power do not deserve it, things like that. Do you feel like that was a nod to Star Wars, where he says, "I wanted to be a pilot"? And I was like, okay, Poe.
I hope so. I didn't think that at the time, but it does seem from the press like he's much happier about being in space this time.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Again, when he was flying the ornithopter, I was like, this stuff is just awesome. Where he does like the dive and stuff, and damn the spice and all that. I mean, dude, that whole rescue scene,
is
fucking
amazing.
shot for shot from
It's
the book.
so
It's
good,
amazing.
right? And the level of detail too, right?
That's the one that they showed us in the preview, and that's when I was like, okay, I think Liet's really good. The ornithopters look amazing. The sandworms, this is amazing. This is gonna be
It's
amazing.
perfect, right? You got the little spotter pod. I really liked that. This little like ball just floating around, some guy piloting this weird flying egg. That was cool. I love the carryalls with the balloons and spice harvesters looked really cool. They were different than the Harkonnen spice harvesters.
Yeah, they didn't look evil enough. Even the
Yeah,
Harkonnens, the spaceships and their spice harvesters look evil.
yeah, and that creepy spider thing. What the
Yeah.
hell? Uh,
That was she used the voice on it. That was pretty good.
yeah, that was I don't know. There's some weird stuff. There's a little bit of the old Jodorowsky Geiger DNA in there somewhere. Um, but no, oh man, the whole Spice Harvest scene is perfect. Right?
And that was why I said that when I saw that preview that I was sold on the actress playing Liet Kynes because she delivered the Bless the Maker and his water line just perfect. So
Yeah, she's
right.
I've seen her in a couple other things. She's always good. I'm never keen when people make arbitrary changes to source material.
But it didn't change the character a ton.
It didn't, I don't like it when people do that, but I think she was great, They did change the cutout Liet Kynes' death scene, right? Where he's talking to his dad.
I feel like they just wanted to have something more exciting. I felt like that was a general audience's decision. I really
there's no way you can put it in there. I just have a really deep attachment to that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Liet Kynes was supposed to be the main character, right? Originally, right? When he was, because he wanted to write about the ecology.
Well, I think Liet Kynes was Frank Herbert. Yes.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And that scene with Pardot Kynes it feels to me in a lot of ways the oldest part of the book, because like that's the part of the book that Frank was working on before he was like, it should be about the noble houses and like actually be saleable, right? And because it's so I get the sense that bit is so personal to him, not seeing it is always a blow. But like I think that they still Kynes' death scene as we got it was awesome, right? Takes the starter car out with her. She was great. I think she did a great job.
I see what you did there. Goes out with quite a blow. I see what you did there. The gas pocket. Yeah, okay. All right. See, only the deep cut readers, you read this deep cut. You ever heard of this book called Dune? You guys should read it for sure. But yeah, she was great. I really loved the blue within blue. I feel like it's the best blue eyes out of the three adaptations as well, because they always just want to make them glow. And he describes them as blue within blue. So your whites are a light blue, and then then you have the solid blue on your pupil. So I think that this definitely got that right finally. And it just makes me more mad. And I know it's the easy thing to do to dunk on Game of Thrones these days, but when they were doing season 1, they decided not to give Daenerys and Viserys the purple eyes, as I say, they could not get it to look right. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard, you guys? See?
Yeah, I don't know. And speaking of Game of Thrones, though, did you see the behind the scenes bit where Momoa was filming and he'd just seen the finale of Game of Thrones and he was going off to do Duncan's death scene and he's like, I'm pissed. This one's for you, Khaleesi.
No, that's pretty good. What was the deal with him going through 3 different phases here? He had the full beard, then he had it like shorter, and then he was clean shaven. This was like between filming Aquaman in this, or what? What was the deal here?
I think so, maybe. I don't know.
Because like he comes back, because I could have said, okay, that was when he was with the Fremen, but he comes back from the Fremen and he's still got facial hair, and then the next scene he doesn't have the facial hair.
Maybe they just regulation had to take it off, but he didn't have it at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, look at Leto. Who's he to tell anybody to trim it up?
Man, I have never seen a man look more like a conquistador. If they want to go and do some sort of Cortez movie, which they'll never do, he'd be perfect. Put him the pointy helmet.
So we talked about the Baron. We talked about Piter, like basically not even being named in this. I kind of want to vent a little bit about Thufir. One of my favorite scenes, which establishes that Jessica's just a badass, is Thufir, the baddest ass mentat in the galaxy, is fucking terrified of her. And taking that scene out I hope that that's on the cutting room floor somewhere, because
Yeah,
that
I do
scene
too.
right there showed me how legit Jessica actually was, and that this, oh, I'm just a violent concubine. She, dude, Benny Jester to run and shit, and everybody knows it. Okay, so I think that was a scene that I really would have gave Thufir some camera time, obviously, that he deserved, because this, he's basically there to do math, one scene, and then to say, oh, here's my resignation because I feel bad. And he's like, I don't give a shit about your honor. I love that line, by the way. But I don't know. Thufir's just kind of like forgotten about. So I hope
He
he's very
really
back
is.
heavy when he's with the Harkonnens in the next movie.
Gurney kind of gets the same treatment too. Now, I liked both of the portrayals. I think
Sure.
they were both great. Um, Balaset's absence notwithstanding. Um, but you've got Gurney doing his quotes and stuff and reading
Oh
his
yeah, about the
Bible,
mood. I love that.
and
That scene with the fight, the sparring scene is
that's
another one that's
another
spot
one
on.
that's like spot on. Yeah, that whole bit is perfect, right? But and I'm sorry to lump Gurney and Thufir together, but they're kind of in the same boat here because they both disappear. I alluded to this in part one. Gurney runs off into the battlefield to go and fight the Harkons. We never see him.
Well, it's like that in the book too. You never know if he's alive or not. Yeah.
Well, that's true, right? But we do have the scenes with Hawat, right, where he's made it out into the desert,
Yeah.
and he's with some survivors, right? Because the whole movie they're going on about how the Atreides have trained the best legions of the galaxy, and the Sardaukar are like, bitch, please. And the Sardaukar appear to have been correct because the Atreides lose very easily and put up absolutely like
And they
no
try doing their like 300 Spartan shit there on the steps, and we're like, oh, hey, behind you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I was almost really excited about that because it reminded me of the opening scene from HBO's Rome, where Varinus is got the whole Roman legion, rotating ranks in perfect clockwork, which they did in real life. And it reminded me of that, where they're taking alternating steps down the stairs to like keep, the front line fresh. And then it's over like as soon as it started. I would have liked a lot more out of the battle than we got.
What did you think about the Sardaukar?
Um,
I love the way they float. I thought that was so cool.
yeah, the suspensor harnesses
Yeah.
were awesome. That I really liked. I'm not super sold on the costume. It looks kind of clunkier relative to some of the other ones. Not my favorite. They're also supposed to be wearing Harkonnen uniforms.
I was telling my wife that on the way home. She's like, "Yeah, I didn't get that at all in the movie." I was like, "Because I don't think they did it."
They didn't do it. They were wearing Carino uniforms or Sardaukar uniforms the whole time, which people are gonna know. But that's okay.
I think they just went full on scorched earth. There are no survivors, so that's
yeah. That was one of the big changes they did. Right, is like rather than do the like knives closing in around them, we intercepted this telegram that hints at a traitor. Flashing lights on the the shield wall, things like that. It was just we're going into a trap. We know it's absolutely a trap. We're screwed from square one, and they kind of just turn the pressure all the way up from the beginning, which is maybe a time-saving measure. But I would have liked the dinner scene, right? So that not only do we have more time with these characters and get to sort of understand them, but we also know, they basically hit him with their pants down, right? Because Duncan's drunk, and like all this stuff is just sort of worst possible time it could have happened, of course, right? And because Thufir and Gurney both disappear like that, it feels like there's more stuff that they didn't make it into the cut, right?
About Gurney is he's just as grumpy as is in the book. Every time anyone comes like within 100 feet of Paul or Leto, he's drawing blades. He's ready to fight.
Yeah,
I love that.
Was awesome.
Basically, he's just always like, "You're not gonna really trust this asshole, are you?" So I mean, I like that. I like that he's reading from the OC Bible and stuff like that. I thought those were nice little touches. And I mean, is Josh Brolin ever bad?
No.
So I mean, yeah, he's pretty much automatic these days for me. So I mean, like I said, I've been watching him since the Goonies, and he's never let me down. So yeah, I think that was a great pick. But yeah, I hope we do see some more. And I think there is an opportunity for him to play the Balaset in part 2 after that whole scene that's coming with him and Jessica in the reconciliation kind of thing. So I think we might see the Balaset then. I don't know, it's just too big of a part to just remove the Balaset. I just can't see it.
Yeah, it bugs me too. I would have liked to see him like rendezvous with Tuek, right, and the smugglers, and then have the Hawat being captured scene. I would have liked those there. Especially the Hawat one, because it would have at least given the impression that the Atreides are putting up any kind of fight. And there's, any survivors anywhere, because it just feels like they're all gone, in a way that it didn't in the book, right? Because you had this sense that there were still, people who had thrown in with the smugglers or who had gotten off world or something. Or at least that it took longer than 10 minutes to knock them all out. I wish Duncan had dropped some shields for that laser gun to find, although that laser gun was awesome.
Yeah, that was very cool.
I like that they are, continuous beams and not your usual, Star Wars, whatever a blaster bolt is.
Yeah, my wife leaned over during his little escape scene, the ornithopter. She's like, is he trying to like have the whole place cave in? I was like, no, he's trying not to get shot down. He's trying not to get just got kind of buzzsawed in half here.
So, I will say that flight is one of the places where Hans Zimmer's score could definitely have been better, because it didn't feel nearly tense enough.
I don't have very many. I love Hans Zimmer, and I don't have very many good things to say. This is not what I expected this soundtrack to be. But guys, watch the non-spoiler one. We talked for 10 minutes.
We talked about that at length. I just, while we were here, I wanted to highlight
just sometimes it's just like, dude, calm yourself a little bit. I'm trying to hear what these characters are saying. We talked about it briefly, but I want to put a little spotlight on Gaius Helen Mohayim here. Do I want to say that she's the best of the three? I mean, I think so, for sure. I like the original quite a bit. The sci-fi one, forget it. I don't even remember her. But I don't know. She's just, I love the veil. Just makes her so damn creepy. Something about that. And isn't she in the actress? Isn't she in the 84 movie as well? Isn't she?
No, she was going to be in Jodorowsky's Dune.
Oh, that's what it was.
Going to be Jessica.
Oh, okay. So I knew there was some connection.
So I think that's really cool. But she didn't want to do it on account of Jodorowsky's like, and then 500 extras will pull their pants down and shit on camera. And she's like, no.
I know everyone's like, oh, it's a shame that movie didn't get made. And I was like, I'm glad it didn't get made. It's a cool documentary.
You're only saying that because you've heard other people say it and you want to sound cultured. No, that movie should not have been made. No, nothing about it except Orson Welles is good.
But it had Pink Floyd doing the soundtrack. Cool. I would have liked the soundtrack, Yeah,
that would have been cool. But there are probably some other things besides Orson Welles I'm forgetting. But Orson Welles as the Baron is like the one thing from that movie I really wanted to have seen. Everything else. Not
Mick Jagger. Was it Mick Jagger gonna be Fade? It's like what? So they gotta cast a rock star to be as Fade in the next movie, just to be 3 for 3 here, right?
They're gonna end up with like Harry Styles or something.
Oh my god, you're gonna say Harry Styles. But again, just the Bene Gesserit period, I love the look. Like they get off of that plane and they get off their ship and it's in the middle of the storm and they got these big headdresses and shit. I don't know, it's just wild. It's cool. Yeah, can't wait to see her and Aaliyah in the next movie. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I hope they just nail the Aaliyah casting. They've got to.
It's hard to find, child actors who could pull off something like that, but hopefully she's out there somewhere. Well,
we can't talk about Fade. No Fade. We already talked about Yui. Stilgar isn't there for very long, but I think we both liked what we saw. I don't know if I always like the actor or not, but I mean, I thought it was pretty spot on. Like I said, the spitting scene I think is very, very well done on everyone involved, and he was a big part of that. But I did like really the confrontation there on the mountain there at the end was he was pretty good. I thought I was kind of hoping it would have that thing where he's like basically telling Jessica, I know what you can do with your voice. Don't be messing around with this fight. It's about honor and stuff. So, but these are little nitpicks, but I like everything I see. I think the Chris knives look really cool, although I don't know why they didn't do the take the water of my life part. I thought that with Shadow they were going to do that, and it just like ended, and she just handed her the knife. I was like, yo, if you took the knife out, you got to draw blood, right?
Yeah, it was a little abrupt. But there were a lot of scenes that were like that. I'm trying to think of another example, but they would just move on. We talked about the Hunter Seeker scene was that way too. And it really is in that middle third. Up until the end of the Spice Harvester scene, everything is perfect. And then after they get to the desert, after Leto dies, everything is perfect again and has room to breathe. But everything in that middle where everything's going to hell is so fast in particular. Like it's just I wanted more time in there, right? because that's where you lose out on like the Yui stuff we're talking about, right? Like that is not forecast at all. The other thing that isn't forecast either is his name change, right? They never say Muad'Dib at all in the movie. And that was a big bummer for me, right? Because that's sort of the thing that when Paul gets his name from Stilgar after he kills Jameis, that really cements for him the fact that he's on the path, right? Is he asks what do you call the mouse? You know, the one that jumps, right? And the mouse is in this, right? And he doesn't know the answer, and Stilgar says, "Oh, we call that one Muad'Dib," right? And he's like, "Oh crap!" Like, and he tries to name himself Paul Muad'Dib to get out of the timeline, right? But it doesn't work. And so I had thought the movie was going to end with him becoming Muad'Dib, and it ends basically there. But they don't do Jameis's funeral, right? He doesn't cry, and earn their respect by giving water to him, right? And he doesn't get his name changed. It just ends with him jumping on the worm and going. And I think if they'd gone 10 more minutes and done the funeral and had the name change, and they'd seated, while he was talking about the shrine of his father's skull and all of this stuff in his visions, if they'd seated, they're going to call me Muad'Dib, right? Which is like a 3-second addition, and then had that name change in the funeral, I think that's a really strong note to end on. And right now, it really is just, attitude of the knife, right? It's ended here. And it was a little abrupt.
What do you think about the fight with Jameis? And I like that they did do the parts where Paul wants him to yield, and they're starting to get mad because they think Paul's just toying with him, just because he's got him dead like 4 or 5 times, and he lets him go.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Yeah. I was pretty impressed with the choreography pretty much all the way through. There were a couple times where I wish the cuts weren't as fast, which is unusual for Denis. He would cut mid fight and change angles a little bit more than usual. Because he's typically, like, if you watch Blade Runner, he's got some pretty sustained shot action scenes. And so I would have liked to have had him sort of let the action breathe a little bit, but the actual choreography is really good. The Gurney Paul knife fight in particular is really awesome at the beginning, and everything has like a weight to it. When he's hitting the dummy and the sword hits the dummy in the shoulder, like that hurt. Like there's really good sound design, things like that. But the Jameis fight I thought was really well handled, because it got him in very clear submission holds, right? And then like, oh, you can't do that, and he does it again, and I think it was very easy to follow, which is hard with knives, especially on film.
So what about Shani? I think that's the only one we haven't talked about here. Now I know that they wanted to put Zendaya on all the advertising because they're trying to get some of the younger viewers in there, but she's in this movie about as much as Thufir is, but that's story appropriate. She's actually in more of this than she should have been if you were going by the book, because this is really the first time she meets him. Is right there, but I think she looks right.
Yeah, I think she was great. Definitely felt more like the character than Sean Young did. And no, I thought she was awesome. And honestly, I'm not really that put off by the Chani's kind of the main character in part 2, because fine, right? We talked about that a little bit, and I think she was good, right? Like, I want to see more of her. I want to see more of Stilgar. I want to see more of Gurney. I want to see more of Duncan.
See, I feel like that's like the Captain Phasma effect, is where they had no idea how popular a character was going to be before the movie came out, and they realized, shit, that character's in this movie for 3 minutes, so we got to let them know, hey, they're going to be bigger in the next one. I feel like that's more of what that is.
Yeah, that was probably a little bit of hedging for the the Timmy Zendaya stands. Gotta
there are. I won't lie, there was a lot more teenage girls in the audience than I expected, and I realized that's the Timothy effect, isn't it? Yeah,
that's it's about 10 years too late to be helpful for me. Like, oh sure, now that I'm not in high school, Dune is popular. Okay,
yeah, right.
But that's good, right? Like, if you've looked at like the book sales, right, they've gone like, and Dune's always in like the top 10 sci-fi titles, usually twice, because you got different editions, but like it was like 4 or 5 of the top 10 best-selling sci-fi books for the last several weeks, right? And it was thousands of copies, right? Which more Dune readers is great, and that's great too for like the genre more broadly, right? Like Foundation's going on right now, and I'm hoping that this is successful enough that it encourages imitators in the way that like, well, like we started a superhero wave, right? Or like Hunger Games started the dystopia movie.
Yeah, it'd be nice they start snatching up the rights to all these sci-fi properties and start adapting them. I know
Now,
this
obviously,
one.
I want that for selfish reasons.
So
But
I know this one called Sun Eater. That'd be pretty cool, like a nice little streaming series, I think.
yeah, I'm sitting there in the theater watching this. I'm like, you peasants have no idea. And of course they don't, right? Because
So is there anyone that wasn't in this that is in the book that you would have liked to have seen?
I mean, besides Fade, I don't really think so.
I think maybe Tuick, that might be about it. But
Yeah,
that would have
Tuick.
played more into the Gurney story, I think.
Who do you want to be Fade besides obviously Harry Styles?
I see. I don't know. See, it was easy for me to do this when I thought they were going to be, red hair. So I'd already said that I wanted Brendan Gleeson to play the Baron, and I wanted his Domhnall Gleeson to play Fade. I thought that would have been perfect, But the way that they're doing this, I have no idea, because I mean, just about anybody, they can take anybody and bleach them white and shave their head, I think, right? So if that's
who I think would be cool. I think Rami Malek would be cool.
See, I think Rami Malek, I think more Piter than I do Fade.
Yeah, that's not a bad call, but I think he'd be cool. He's too old maybe now, but with the white makeup.
You need someone that's similar to Paul's age, or at least looks teenage, I think.
They're gonna get Harry Styles, I'm telling you. It's gonna happen.
Now if that happens, it's gonna be like, they did watch. I'm pretty sure that they already, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they already have someone under contract.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they signed all these people to 3 movies, because he does want to do Messiah as well. So
I'm sure they must have, because why get Jason Momoa otherwise, right? I mean, he's cool, but like,
no comment. But
we're not talking about those spoilers.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want anyone getting mad and saying, "Oh, I haven't read Messiah yet. You ruined it for me." And again,
well, you can direct them to me.
I try. I try not to go there. But anything else about this that you want to discuss that isn't exactly character based? I thought all of the planets looked really cool. They looked differentiated. That's why I was hoping that Gidi Prime wasn't just going to be a steampunk warehouse like it was in '84. I like the look of everything. Creepy spider baby thing aside, I liked it all.
Family dog, with its human hands. Ugh.
Yeah, no thanks. But I really do hope that there is a director's cut of this, because I feel like a lot of those scenes are there, and I feel like they could be some of my gripes about character. I feel like those could be corrected with just a few extra scenes, I think. But I really think they need to, if there is some of this stuff, they need to put something there to make the Yui betrayal way more impactful than it was in this, because that was just like random.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that there's at least another 30 minutes of film that they'll let us have at some point. Like I said, release the Denny cut. Gonna get everyone in trouble on Twitter.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where I think they know that the fandom for this is pretty big, and they're going to see when they do their first home video release that fans are going to eat the stuff up. And then when they see how much it sells, I mean, because there's one thing I know Warner Brothers likes, they love to sell shit twice, so I could see them being like, okay, yeah, we'll pay the extra money, make an HBO Max exclusive with a physical release later kind of thing. I could see them
black and white,
because I don't think they're going to continue to not try to push stuff to HBO Max, because I mean it's a big time moneymaker for them. So I guess
I'd be surprised if they didn't do it.
Yeah, some more exclusive content. So if they gave Zack Snyder $50 million to finish Justice League, what's to say they won't give him some money to polish up these extra scenes and put out like a ultimate edition or whatever they call it?
And if I were a marketing executive at WB, I'd probably have done this already on purpose. Like, it might already be baked in.
Well, I mean, look at Lord of the Rings. It was never a director's cut thing. It was like, oh, you like the movie? Here's more. Here's extended editions. Here's all the stuff that we just try to get it down to a respectable runtime. You know?
I think that I think they might already have it
Yeah.
and be thinking like, oh, in the lead up to the second film here in 2-3 years.
Because I always say you got to look at
That's
like
what I
this,
would
guys.
do.
A 2.5 hour movie or a 3 hour movie, you cut it down to 2.5. You get an extra showing in per day, and you think that don't matter. It matters. So if they did 3 hours, they could do one less showing. So I think that there's at least a 3 hour cut.
Yeah, it also scares people away if the movie's
Yeah.
too long, assuming it's not Avengers Endgame, which I think is what, like 3 hours 10 minutes or something crazy. But
This is the first movie I've seen in the theater since then.
I went to see Green Knight, which that's a whole nother video. I wish I hadn't gone to see Green Knight, but like I said, that's another video. But no, on balance, like the last thing I think I want to say is that for all the nitpicking that I've been doing, right? All the like, this could have been better. This was awesome, right? You know, like nothing disappointed me, you know, except that there wasn't more, right? And I know I've said that a couple times, but I really want to emphasize that. So anybody who wants to come complain to me about this, I loved the movie. I just I wanted it to be twice as long. I think.
Yeah, same. And I know a lot of people will be like, wow, I was just expecting like just tremendous, like overpraising from you guys. I'm still on a hangover. I've been waiting for this forever. I can't believe it's actually here now. And I don't have to be talking about when is this damn movie finally going to come out, you know? So it's one of those things it's still processing for me.
Yeah,
but yeah, I loved it, obviously. But I was never worried. I said with Lord of the Rings, I was worried because it hadn't been proven that they could do that yet. When Denny got hired, I knew that this was the guy to do this, especially after I saw Blade Runner and Arrival. I was like, this is definitely the guy that can do this. So I was never really worried. To me, it came down more to, okay, are they going to do everything that I want? And I don't think that's possible without this being like, you know, a 12-hour movie altogether, you know? So would I have liked to seen it be a series? Yeah. I mean, I was stumping when before this was getting made. Who was the guy they were going to have direct this before Denny?
Peter Berg.
Peter Berg. Yeah. When they were talking about that and that fell through, I was like, look, Game of Thrones is going to be ending soon. I think it would be the perfect series for HBO to pick up. So, I mean, technically, I guess they did, you know? So, but yeah, I thought this would take a good 10 to 12 episodes to tell the story fully. So, you know, take what you get. And this is by far, guys. I mean, it's not even close. So this is the best adaptation of Dune ever. And in a time where I feel like every adaptation now is just nothing but a big disappointment for me, because they feel like they've got to modernize it, and which means we're going to change everything about it. I feel like this is extremely, extremely faithful. I don't care about the gender swap of Leah Kynes. Doesn't change the story one bit. So that didn't bother me at all. But yeah, one of the most faithful adaptations I've ever seen, even if it did just cut some things a little short that I would like to see expanded. So extended edition, take my money. You know, you've already got my IMAX money. You got my HBO Max money. So I will pay for an extended edition. Hell, I'll even go see a theatrical release of it, you know? So I'm on board. So any closing comments, my friend?
Well, no, I think that about does it. Everyone should go see it because I want at least 2 more of these.
At least 2
and
more.
So do you.
At least 2 more. So what movie are you looking forward to next?
Emo Batman.
Emo Batman.
Yeah, no,
they showed the trailer. They showed the trailer in IMAX before, and this is the first time my wife has seen it, and she's excited. So maybe
I like Paul Dano a lot. I like Matt Reeves a lot, and so I think I think it'll be good. I know you're on.
I mean, I always say want more good Batmans, and I'm glad they're finally doing really all right. But my kids are being jerks and banging on my door, so I guess that's my cue that I gotta go. So, guys, did you see Dune? What did you think? Full spoilers ahead. Drop in the comments and let us know. And Mr. Ruocchio, thank you as always for joining me.
Thanks for having me.